What's good? What's good? What's good? Ooh, looks like I might have to check a couple of things. I was looking at Bitcoin and saw that it hit as low as 84.5. Like it just bink, it's kind of hit that. Right now, the opening day for Bitcoin in December, today is December 1st, 2025. And you realize, wow, Bitcoin's dropped like about $5,500 in a heartbeat. If you look at the charts, it happened in a single candle. And some people are sitting around going, why is that, Eddie? What happened? Well, let's see. You had I'm looking at my notes, Japan's 2-year bond yield hit 1% today, signaling potential rate hikes and an end to 30 years of ultra low rates. Excuse me. So what people were doing was they were using Japan to make money because you were basically getting paid by Japan to take loans. So yeah, that carry trade, as it's called, yeah, that can be a wrap. And then what happened is you have China coming out and saying that they are cracking down on crypto enforcement, like bank bans. They have issues with stable coins that are not complying to KYC and AML, which would be know your customer and anti-money money laundering regulations. So those were major problems. And that just happened to hit at the same time. Then on top of that, I mean, that's bad news in and of itself. Then on top of that, Yearn Finance suffered a $2.8 million exploit via Tornado Cash with 235 trillion YETH minted despite YFI price spikes due to market misinterpretation and short seller activity. And they were hacked. So you had China hit us. You had Japan looking like it's about to hit us. Then you have the hack for $2.8 million. And I want you to stop and think about this. A hack of $2.8 million, not really that big a deal. But it's the perfect storm of 3 bad things happening back to back to back. That's what's going on. Then on top of that, as if that wasn't enough, quantitative tightening is expected to end. Right? So, sorry, my collar, something's wrong with my collar, and it's bugging me. You know you can't have that. You know what that's, if you're a guy, you know what that's like. Scratchy collar nonsense. Ugh. But, so when you look at all those things, you have 4 major things hitting the economy, hitting crypto really hard all at once. Not a fun day. Not a fun day at all. And of course, you're still reeling over everything that happened last week with CME Group, and it wasn't a hack or anything like that. It was literally a cooling problem. So now CME Group, and here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. They had a failover plan. They didn't do the failover plan because they thought it was going to be fixed real quick. It was a 10-hour outage. It was a 10-hour outage. Isn't that why you have business continuity plans in place? I know my company does business continuity plans or planning. So that's why you have it in place. You took out a major data center because they had a cooling problem, and you have to know that, if it happens longer than X amount of time, you're going to cut over. You give this amount of time for correction. And if there's a correction, okay, fine. And then you move when it doesn't. So there was failure throughout the chain. Failure throughout the chain. So you've got to wonder who's in trouble. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm not asking for anybody to be fired, but this is a learning opportunity. Because they might not have known what's that window of time that you have that you can give any incident before you've got to enact your business continuity plan. Your disaster recovery plan. And let me tell you something. A lot of people are thinking, yeah, they should have done that. Shut your mouth because you don't understand. There's a lot of work to cut over, to fail over to another system, okay, to another process. Let alone, it's hard to also flip it back when things are fine. So you're going to undergo a lot of risk because failover or cutover carries risk no matter how well you've planned. So until they perform forensics on this, They're not going to know. That's why I said I'm not calling for anybody to be fired. I mean, I will never find out, but I'm dying to know what the forensics will show. What could have happened, what should have happened. Hindsight is always 20/20 until you're in the mix. And you have to think about this. And somebody said it like almost perfectly earlier. You can have 99.999% uptime. It's still not 100. And it's that one time that everybody loses their minds. Even though you're carrying like 99.999%, uptime. So it's one of those things that you sit back and you kind of go, yeah, we'll take this with a grain of salt. It's still a learning opportunity. Just saying. So we're still getting over that. So Bitcoin took a massive hit, right? Just all the events just coming into December, not a lot of fun. And then obviously you could have some manipulation, some panic. I think that there's an over panic right now, and that we have a chance of coming back, later today, tomorrow. I told you the first couple of weeks are going to be tumultuous. I told you December could be tumultuous, and that I'm still expecting a good end of September. I just got finished listening to Tom Lee on CNBC, and he believes the same thing. So I guess I'm in good company. I mean, we could both be wrong. Tom Lee's a smart guy. I don't know about me, but Tom Lee's a smart guy. So anytime I can say I agree with Tom Lee or he agrees with me, I'm down with that. I'm just saying. There's a class action lawsuit going on against TD alleging discriminatory termination of 22 Chinese or Chinese American employees post 2024, $3.1 billion money laundering fine. That was the story that I had covered where they were driving around. They were driving around and saying, oh, yeah, by the way, we're going to deposit all this cash. And they were allowed to deposit all the cash beyond the thresholds that were set. And they had been doing it for some time, whoever they is. So apparently there were some employees, that were called out as being a part of that whole thing. And now there's a class action. And I'm kind of like, we shall see. We shall see what happens from that. But it's not over yet. That whole story is not over yet. TD Bank got in huge trouble over that. Huge trouble. Should they have gotten in more trouble? Should the fine be larger, in my humble opinion? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that fine was, a walk in the park. Right? I think it was like, cost of doing business, no big deal, blah, 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 blah. That's what I think. So, yeah. Kevin, I think they got off very easy. Now, it's supposed that, the new regime has chosen who the replacement will be for Jay Powell as SEC chair. And rumor has it that it's Kevin Hassett. I will say this. I don't want a yes man sitting in that chair. I will be incredibly skeptical of every single move that person makes. Because if they make a move just because somebody said to make a move, we have lost, and I mean we would have lost, Fed independence. So I'll have a big eye on that. And let me tell you something. I won't be the only one looking at that. The whole world will be looking at that. Nobody wants a yes man in that spot. Nobody wants a yes man. And we need somebody in there that's thick of skin. Because when you contemplate how hard that job is and the ridicule, the constant ridicule that you'll take over every single move you make, that's what we're looking at. One of the reasons why I say I do not want a yes man in that role is because currently the president of the United States is somebody that's bankrupted a few companies. That's fact. That's a fact. So I don't want somebody in the Fed that's going to listen to somebody who has no economic background, who has failed that many times in businesses that probably, questionably, should not have failed. Just saying. So those are things I think about. Strategy holds about 649,870 BTC at about $60 billion, with MNAV nearing about 0.95, rising liquidation if below, risking liquidation if below 0.9 to cover 750 to 800 million in preferred dividends, despite Bitcoin's 22.91% gain versus 60% stock decline. And that's saying that a lot of people are thinking that, Strategy could be in not such a great situation. And I sit back and I say, look at those numbers again. Strategy is actually in a good situation. I've never seen, no, that's wrong. The truth is, I've often seen people want to see others fail because they're not winning. Let that wash over you for a minute. Michael Saylor has shown his conviction. His major stakeholders or shareholders have allowed that. So unless you're a shareholder, I don't know that you should have anything to say. There's also something else. People are expecting Michael Saylor to come out with something today. There has been kind of hints about things, so I'll be watching for any kind of Michael Saylor news today. Definitely. Something else that's going on. David Sachs criticized the New York Times, questioning his role, denying fabricated narratives despite investments in crypto firms and advocacy for the Genius Act. In other words, he's holding value in certain companies that would do well with the Genius Act. Yeah. Conflict of interest, maybe? How could you possibly have a billionaire in a government position and not have conflicts of interest? This is why that shouldn't happen. Because their interests don't necessarily align with those of the regular person in the United States. Their manner of thinking is not of a regular person in the United States. So, yeah, I do have issues with that. I'm not saying that he's got conflicts of interest, but it certainly does look like. So I don't know that the New York Times is wrong. And like I said, I think that any billionaire given a government position, you have a problem. So there should be guardrails. I'm not saying that it shouldn't happen. I'm saying that there should be guardrails to gird against conflicts of interest, of which there are none right now. So what we have is probably the richest cabinet ever assembled, or the wealthiest cabinet ever assembled. No, that couldn't possibly lead to problems. A bunch of people leading the country that are not compatible with everyday citizens? No. Nah, that wouldn't be a problem at all. Crypto lending surged to $25 billion in Q3 2025, with CeFi platforms, centralized finance platforms, dominating 60% of market share, while DeFi loans hit $41 billion. I'm telling you, DeFi is growing. DeFi is growing. And when I look at DeFi, I'm wondering if Aave is about to take a bigger bite out of the pool, because they're moving in a certain way that tells me they're planning for the long haul. The very long haul. So pay attention. Grayscale is about to launch its Chainlink ETF. Why? Because it's going to be a conversion from a trust to ETF. That's supposed to happen this week. Something else that's going on. Brazil is contemplating taxing digital assets on foreign exchanges. And the reason why that's important is because, did you know the United States is thinking the same thing? Just about every country in the world that's got massive amounts of people holding digital assets is contemplating the same thing, because it's a global thing, not a local state or country thing. Crypto, digital assets, that's a global thing. And you need to be able to maneuver around the globe. Right now, the United States does not allow you to hold certain things overseas, or they don't allow those overseas companies to offer things in the United States, is what I should say. So that's a massive problem. Again, countries around the world still need to figure out what their taxing strategy is going to be in the digital asset world, how that's going to work, how are they going to monitor all those things, because they're physically monitoring us and they're figuring out that, oh, wow, we could be losing the ability to monitor your value around the world. And remember, centralized finance, okay, that's going to be easy, right? You make a demand on a centralized exchange, you have to do this. But if you're dealing with a decentralized exchange operating as a DAO, you're going to have a massive problem. You're also going to have a massive problem with over-the-counter transactions. That's point to point. Maybe with a broker in between, but it still winds up being point to point. The broker just introduces the two parties. And that's where the problem could be. I don't think that governments are giving it fruitful thought about how they can still collect taxes in a non-brotherly, big brother kind of way. That's not going to be an easy thing. That's not going to be easy at all. Then you've got Cocoon being launched by Ton, the open network. Cocoon, a decentralized AI network on Ton blockchain, allows GPU owners to rent computing power for privacy-preserving tasks with a 77% support for decentralized AI over centralized systems. That right there could be a very big deal. So imagine you've got, I don't know, a little test GPU sitting over there, and you decide, I'm going to rent out some of my power. And I would do the math on how much does it cost to actually run that thing and have it running all the time, just going. How much do you earn? Just saying. But if you get involved in that, you earn Ton coin. That's what I'm saying. Got to figure out that math. But you know what time it is? It's time for us to look at the numbers. So let's do that. Get my notes out of the way. Right now, we're looking at Dow futures down, the implied open down 202, S&P futures down 41 points, NASDAQ implied open 186.25 down, oil up 0.68, US 10-year up 0.025. We'll see what happens throughout the day. I don't know about you, but is Putin starting to look old? Just wondering. Then you've got what's going on this week. We have some good numbers coming out this week. We've got CrowdStrike, Salesforce, Snowflake, Marvell Technologies, Kroger, Hewlett Packard, MongoDB, Ulta Beauty. Pay attention to that. Dollar General, Dollar Tree. Wow, we've got a lot of Okta for security, DocuSign. How are they still in business? Anyway, I'm just saying, I think that there are a lot of numbers that are going to be coming out this week, and that's going to be big. It's going to be big. We've got numbers coming out this week. Again, I don't know. I'm not really paying close attention to it. We've got core PPI coming out on Tuesday. Tomorrow, we've got initial jobless claims, supposedly tomorrow. I don't know. That was last week. My bad. This week, we've got ISM, because I remembered PPI. Getting old. Relax. It happens. S&P final U.S. manufacturing PMI, Fed Vice Chair of Supervision Michelle Bowman testifies. Auto sales numbers, maybe. Don't know what time that'll happen. ADP employment, will be paying attention to that. Initial jobless claims coming out on Thursday. I wonder about that sometimes. PCE, personal income, personal spending. These are all delayed reports from September. So, am I trusting the numbers that are coming out this week? Probably not. Fear and greed index is at 24. Yesterday was at 28. Just saying, things that we should be looking into and paying attention to. And look at this. Fear and greed index. I mean, the total value locked, $114.913 billion in total value locked. That is scary. In a short little time, we went from above 150 to 114. Yeah, I'm happy for you. This whole Cyber Monday thing. And look at that. You saw it because I woke up this morning and I was like, what the heck is going on? And it was a massive drop, almost in a straight line. Not quite, but almost in a straight line. That's one candle. Boom. And we're still right here. I mean, I can't zoom in that much. I'll try. But right there, you can see we're starting to change that, right? Hit there. Maybe we're coming back, but right there, it came down a little bit. It's not as easy as you think, folks. But when you think about it, look at this. From right here, actually, from all the way back here, trading laterally all the way through. Trading laterally. This is a shocking move, but still not as low as this one hit. Look at that. Look at that moving. Look at that moving average right there. I think that's the 20-day, and this is the 200. So, just saying, we could have been as low as right there. We're not. We're up here somewhere. Right now, we're up here. Just saying. So we'll see if we start coming back. On 360 view, everything is bloodshot red. I'm sitting back and I'm saying, I could snatch up some XRP. I could definitely do well with ADA. I could do well with Aster, I believe. I could do well with Hype, Ton, SUI, BNB, BTC, ETH. But BTC, BNB, ETH would be holding. I'd be purchasing those for my holding wallets. If I was into that sort of thing, Solana, XRP, SUI, Ton, Avalanche, Aave, Chainlink would also be in my holding wallet, but all those other ones would be in my trading wallets. And people are wondering why. I might put a little Chainlink in my trading wallet, in my trading wallet, only because of Grayscale's flip from Trust to ETF. And it's Chainlink. So that could wind up being very interesting to me. But yeah, there are a lot of opportunities over here that you could be looking at. Look at the big board and you still see nothing but crazy, crazy red. There you go. So you scroll down and you just go, yeah, what do we have going on over here? Nothing but red, nothing but bad news. You see bad news, I see opportunity. Blood in the streets, even my own, I'm going to invest. Why? Because it's a massive chance to earn some big money, in my humble opinion. Massive chance to earn some big money in a short time. Like right here, look at Aster right here, under $1. Under $1. I could buy a bit of this and then just wait. Just wait. Make some nice coin off of that. You think it's going to stay down this low forever? Nope. I don't think so. I think Aave comes back. I mean, heck, all the coins that I rattled off, I think they all come back. Just saying. Just saying. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. I hope you like what I'm doing. If you do me a favor, smash the likes. Tell your friends about this community. We have a lot of things going on. Did you know that this year we already hit 30,000 subscribers? I mean, right now we're at about 31.2 thousand subscribers on YouTube. Thanks to the community. Thanks to you guys smashing the likes and telling your friends about us. And book sales has even picked up. It's been a banner year thus far for the Grow My Bag community. And I'm expecting more this month, and I'm expecting more for 2026. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. As always, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And as always, 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 thank you for your trust. Me and my team will fight for that every day. Everybody, I'll see you tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Crypto Overflow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.